Joining us now to talk more about the infrastructure plan is Joel Griffith, Research Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. Joel, welcome back. Always great to see you. As Eric just mentioned, this proposal earmarks spending for increased broadband, green energy, and also job training. But how much of it is going to things like roads and bridges, what most of us would think of as infrastructure?
No, that's a great question. Out of a $2 trillion+ package, fewer than $1 in $13 actually goes to infrastructure that we typically think of: roads, bridges, airports, and seaports. More than 90% of this infrastructure package really goes to expanding big government. It really should be called Building Big Brother bill. It's astounding. This is the biggest concentration of power in Washington, D.C. that we've seen in one piece of legislation really since LBJ's Great Society. This is a socialist far left wish list that they're trying to squeeze through by using a term that many of us actually like: infrastructure.
Yeah, I want to go back to the cost of this plan. $2 trillion, $2 trillion. We just passed a $1.9 trillion COVID plan last month, not to mention the other COVID relief measures that were passed over the past year. Joel, where is this money coming from? And ultimately, who's going to pay for all this?
Well, we're quite literally creating this money out of thin air. We have the Federal Reserve, a central bank that is printing trillions of dollars worth of money. They're buying up government debt, and then that money then goes to fund these enormous spending programs. Eventually, either taxes are going to have to be raised, not just on the wealthy, but also the middle class, or they're going to have to continue printing the money to pay for this, which will result in higher prices and slower economic growth into the future. There is no free lunch on this.
Yeah, and the White House is saying, though, that this plan, they're saying it will create millions of good jobs. Your thoughts on that, and how do you think this infrastructure plan, that is, will ultimately impact our economy?
Well, what this will really do is it'll take jobs from sectors that the government doesn't approve of, such as very high-paying jobs in the natural gas industry, which often pay in the six figures, and it'll so-called create jobs in government-approved parts of the economy that actually will many times pay far less. Overall, we'll actually see net jobs losses, as many of my colleagues that dive into the data on this, the Heritage Foundation, have really analyzed in past. When President Biden talks about us competing with the global economy and creating jobs, what he's failing to mention is that we have the most prosperous middle class in the world. Our middle class, typical families here, earn $10,000 more a year in disposable income than places like Germany. And that's because we have a free market system, including our energy system. This package will actually push that system off the rails and hurt families, rich, poor, and middle class.
We have about 30 seconds left, Joel, but really quickly, I want to ask you, do you think this bill will be passed? It really doesn't seem to have any support from Republicans.
Not many Republicans, if any, actually have voiced support for this. But this is a lot of money, and a lot of this money will go to favor cronyist, politically favored projects in certain states, in certain districts. This is a massive transfusion of funds into places like New York City, Chicago, and LA. So I think a lot of politicians will find that their support is being bought off by these promises of billions flowing in to their own districts. But future generations are going to be handicapped because of this.
Joel Griffith, Research Fellow at the Heritage Foundation, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching the Heritage Foundation's YouTube channel. With more than 500,000 members, we are the nation's largest conservative research and education institution. We believe the principles and ideas of the American founding are worth conserving and renewing. Please help us further our mission by subscribing to this channel and sharing our videos with your family and friends.